think as a tech reviewer, if you reach a point with a device where you've had it for a while and it only gets better and you only have one or two complaints about it, it could possibly be the greatest of all time. So this video is going to take us through the Miyoo Mini Plus, the software. A lot of this has to do with the software. And GoGameGeek have sent this to me with their tweaked software, so we're going to look at that as well. And then we're going to get into what I like, what I don't like about the Miyoo Mini, and why I think it is the greatest handheld emulator of all time. So I also want to mention at this point of the video that I do have some written notes on this because there's a bunch of links. I'm going to do a bit of setup stuff in this video, so check out that document on my website because OnionOS have got a brilliant document on setting this thing up, on using this thing, and so it is one of the best documented operating systems. So if we have to split hairs, this is the greatest operating system for retro emulation of all time, and the Miyoo Mini is made the greatest of all time because of the software. So this is mostly going to be looking at the software. So as you'll see on this particular one from GoGameGeek, we have a GoGameGeek boot logo. It has a really good ROMs library. They appear to have added their own shaders and filters, and I'm going to add a few that I prefer later on in the video. So a great thing in this OS is that at any point you can just press this button once, and it'll go to the game switcher, all your recent games that you've been playing. Or you can just press and hold it and it'll take you back to the menu. Another very unique thing to this operating system is that it basically has an app store. So it's called the Package Manager. And if you go in here, you can manage your cores, but also they've got various apps that you can use. So here's your verified cores. If I press the R button, there's my activity tracker, an advanced menu if you want, battery monitor so you can track the health of the battery, and then guest mode. So if you hand this to someone you don't want them to screw the thing up, you can give it in guest mode. List shortcuts, a music player, over-the-air update, which we'll talk about that later. It didn't work for me. Pico 8 isn't here yet. I'm sure it will be in the future. You just have to add 2 of the files that you can only get once you've bought Pico 8, but Pico 8 is now available natively on you. Retro Achievements is enabled within RetroArch. So there still are a few little things that aren't super easy to do. But anyway, you go into RetroArch, you go into Settings, you go into Achievements, Enable Achievements, Username. Just don't enable hardcore mode because it does mess up some of the features. We go out of there, quit RetroArch, and that should do it. We should have retro achievements enabled. It also recently updated to handle DS gameplay, but it's not ideal on a device like this. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely play something like Super Mario DS on here. And something I noticed is you can set the core. This is something that's been available in other systems in the past, but you can set the core for a game specifically to that game. So here the game core for this specific game is MGBA. We can go in there and we can choose a different one. So you can change your cores on a per game basis, and that is very handy, and it's something that I actually forgot about that not all systems can do. So they told me that unique to them there's overlays and all that kind of thing, but I seem to think that OnionOS came with overlays and bezels and all that kind of thing already. But the real gem here, and even though it is sketchy to get ROMs from the people who are selling the device to you, it's a really nice ROM set. It's, someone spent some love and efforts, and it's systems that maybe you never thought of, systems that you could never own. They've got a nice library of Atari links. I was playing some of that last night. Neo Geo Pocket, that's definitely something that you should give a go. I know Shem from Retro Breeze really likes getting into that. A TMNT library. Check this out. This is a library of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. Like, someone's mad about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and so they made a library for it. It really is a lovely collection of games. And I don't usually sing praises on ROM sets because I really think you should be using your own ROMs. This industry is a bit weird. It's just that the amount of love that went into that ROM set deserves a little bit of praise. So here's the best feature of the Miyoo Mini Plus, and that is navigation. Generally, it will power up where you left off. So if you power it off while you're playing a game, it'll power up back into the game. So like in cartridge mode, I really love that about this. You press the menu button once, it'll exit the game into the game switcher. If you've been playing 2 games, let's say you were playing this and a few seconds ago you were playing another game and you're like, oh, let me go back to the other game. Double press the menu button. And there we go into my Super Mario game in the Nintendo DS. And then a long press will get you into the menu system. So you press and hold the menu, you get into the menu system. X will get you into the search. So this has a search facility. The game switcher has screenshots, which I really like. So it just takes a screenshot of where you last were in the game. Just the navigation is unsurpassed in the system. So let's quickly open this game and now let's power off. That to me is the kill blow that makes this the best retro gaming operating system across the board, and what makes the Miyoo Mini Plus the game of choice. It is the GOAT. Okay, so you may have noticed that my Game Boy overlay is super cool. So to get into the Retro Arch menu, so open a game, a Game Boy game, press menu and select, go to on-screen overlay, display overlay needs to be on, go to overlay preset. And as you can see, they had something else selected. I've already done this now. I've selected DMG-480p-mini. And then something, if you want to check it to, so you'll be in the quick menu here and you go back and you go to settings, just to check that the video scaling is set to keep aspect ratio on. And that should sort you out. So then, back into quick menu, go down to overrides and say save content directory overrides, and that should sort that out. So let's go back, resume, and you should have a nice overlay there. So once again, you'll notice that my Game Boy Advance looks super cool, and we'll go menu, select, we'll go into on-screen overlays, we'll go into overlay presets, and I've chosen GBA-480p-scan.cfg. Again, just double check in the settings, scaling, keep aspect ratio on, overrides, save content directory overrides, go back to quick menu, resume, and everything is bloody fantastic. Highly recommend this game. I've had it in the last couple of videos that I've done. I just love this alien hominid on GBA. It is super cool. Moving on to Game Gear. I found some things. This I found a little bit difficult to do, but anyway, on-screen overlay. For some reason, this took a little bit of tweaking. I went into frame, got gamegear_new.cfg. I chose that one. And then the other thing I needed to check was, like I showed you in the other ones, settings, video scaling, keep aspect ratio on. Go back to the quick menu, go down to overrides, and then say save content directory override. That's just to make sure that the game resizes within the frame. And this is definitely a library that you should consider. Like, Game Gear in general was pretty sucky, but it's worth just looking into, because like, here we go. Here's a little platformer that I have literally never tried. And it seems quite nice. Yeah, this is like almost a Pico 8 vibe. Pico 8 developers, make something like this. See, it's in my game switcher now. Now, after this video, I can go play this game. Yippee. All right. And then the fun stuff. Like, there's just like fun things to do with this. And this is, I think, one of the reasons why people love this operating system. It's got a video player. So you can play videos. There's a little thingy that tells you some things. There's somebody showing you how to do a thing. I tried to put one of my YouTube videos on here, but it was too big. Anyway, that's what she said. It has a music player. So I will never do that again. Oh, cool. That's actually pretty cool. So once you know the controls, select gives you your whole sort of like track information.
3 hours later.
That's fast forward. So R1 and L1. Once you get used to it, it's not a bad little music player if you are into MP3s and that. I do not own a single MP3. And then themes. There is a theme in here by somebody that we all know. He's a friend of the channel. He's been on the podcast. Check this out. Rick and Morty. How cool is that? That's the one. It's between this and Tech Dweeb's one. Metal Slug look. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So whoever made the library of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, they obviously made this theme or saw this theme and they were inspired. But anyway, so it's either that or Tech Dweebs. And he's just launched that he's got a whole lot of colors now, so you can install them on your Miyoo Mini Plus. You feel like you're in an episode of Tech Dweeb, and that's what I love about it. Okay, so things I like about the Miyoo Mini Plus. The screen. It is a beautiful, beautiful screen. Navigation. I went on and on in this video about navigation. This menu button, all the options that it gives you. The shortcuts are pretty intuitive, and once you learn them, it's kind of shorthand and it becomes very useful. What have I done? Yeah, X is the search menu. There's just so much in here that makes navigation amazing. The press and hold to go to menu, power down wherever you are, it loads back to that point. It really is cool. You know, that power off and power back on feels like a Game Boy. Kind of feels like OG hardware, you know, so it gives you those retro feels along with the lovely design. You could buy the DMG version or whatever and give it a really good retro feel. The themes is a big part of it. Like it's nice to have these really lovely themes. I haven't mentioned, because I didn't really talk about hardware in this video, the fact that it is one of the most retro looking devices. If you get this in gray, it is just all the retro feels of a DMG Game Boy. Not quite the ergonomics of a DMG Game Boy, but you know, they've taken so many design cues from the DMG. And one of the biggest things is the D-pad. This D-pad, it's so close to the original hardware. It's actually insane. Like, they really have put a lot of effort. I believe when they made this, they put a lot of effort into trying to make the D-pad as close to OG hardware as possible, and they've nailed it. It's, you know, I only got the original DMG recently, and when I got this, I was like, this feels like the D-pad that I used in 1989, and it really is. It's so close. It's really, really good. And then things I don't like, I can't find a way to disable the LED. If any of you devs out there can give me a piece of code to switch it off, I would really appreciate that. Ergonomics. So once I got to the DMG, it kind of, one of the big shifts I had. So to explain, I've been buying OG hardware because I couldn't afford it growing up. Like, I never actually owned these hardwares. I borrowed from cousins and friends. I never actually owned this stuff. So I'm buying OG hardware and kind of playing catch up to make me more informed for this channel. And one of the mind shifts that I had with buying the DMG is a big device makes a device ergonomic. Like, a lot of us took the RG351V and we said, it's really nice, but it's huge, you know, it's a really big device. But I need to make a video about this, because looking back at this, okay, the D-pad isn't as retro. It does have a joystick, which I think is superfluous on a device like this, but the controls are high up with a big chin, and that makes it super ergonomic as a vertical device. The problem with these new vertical devices like the RG35XXH of the 35XX Plus and the Miyoo Mini Plus is that they don't have a chin, and so this is not an ergonomic device. I feel like I might not have gone on about it enough in my original review. This is not ergonomic. You hold it and you're like, you know, it's like, where is the device? It's pocketable and it's very small, and that is the payoff of that. But this is not an ergonomic device, and it is one of the big downsides of it. I feel like they could have gotten inspiration from the Game Boy Color maybe and just gone a little bit, just give us a little bit more meat to hold on to. And then the thing that I might have been a bit cheeky in not mentioning in my RG35XXH video, you know, that device is consolable. You can plug it into a big screen. I did it here in the studio, and I put it in the recent video about the RG35XXH. That is a huge plus for that device. This does not have HDMI output, and so you cannot use this as a console. I haven't tried to put my 2.5 gigahertz controller in here because it's pointless. But yeah, there's no HDMI out on here. That is a huge loss on this device because if it had that, it would just it would kill the market because I don't think there'd be a reason to buy anything else. So major competing devices, I am going to bring the RG35XXH out here because I just reviewed it and I said you should rather get this. So you've got a Game Boy Color, which I just did a assembly of the FPGBC, the funny playing Game Boy Color. I've assembled this myself. It is a brand new Game Boy Color and it is beeping fantastic. I love this thing. You can put your carts in the back and it's a whole different ballgame. You can collect game carts. This is just... Watch the space because I'm about to go completely nuts about this. So there's this. This is more ergonomic. It is a really, when you hold this, you're like, Nintendo, why did you stop selling these things? It's the answer. It's the Jesus of retro gaming. It's so nice, the ergonomics and everything. So yeah, so that is a huge one. That's what she said. Then the RGB30 is obviously one of the huge hits. Well, the huge hits for retro gamers, guys that are into Game Boy Color, Pico 8, that sort of thing, because of this massive square screen. This has been my Game Boy device up until recently, but obviously an emulator, so you can play all your illegal games on here. And then obviously you've got the RG35XX Plus. The software is terrible compared to this. The hardware is really solid, but the retro feels on this is better. There are so many reasons to prefer this. This has got more power under the hood. So if you are power hungry and you want to play as many of the higher end games like Dreamcast and those sort of things as possible, then these two are the option for you. And these have got HDMI out, so they are consolable. You can consolize them. But at the end of the day, in terms of the emulation scene, an affordable emulation device that plays 16-bit and 8-bit games, the Miyoo Mini Plus is the GOAT. And then in here, I wonder if Tech Dweeb's got a purple one. I'm going to go see.